Hey guys. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to Technical Question Tuesday. My name is Carrie with GSTRV and My Pocket Tech, and I'm here to just answer some questions that you might have. I do have a couple of questions that people have submitted, so I'm going to be answering those. So the last couple of weeks we went over batteries and electrical system, and one of the questions that I got was I have like really nice light fixtures that I want to put up in my RV, but one light fixture has 3 wires and the ones that I took down have 2 wires. So they were asking kind of what you do, right? They're not matching. Well, this is a great way for us to go over the types of electrical systems that are in your RV. You have 2 types of electrical systems. You have AC power and you have DC power, okay? AC is house power. That's plug-in power. The way I like to remember that is AC is what runs your AC, okay? AC is also the AC adapters that plug into the wall for a wall socket, okay? DC power is your 12 volt, okay? So like DC, like Duracell. Duracell's a battery, okay? So DC is battery power. AC is house power or plug-in power, okay? So you have those 2 separate items. Every single thing in your RV is designed to run off of battery power, okay? So that is your primary source of power in your RV is battery power, okay? Battery is always going to have 2 wires, okay? You have a negative and a positive, okay? Whenever you deal with AC power, you have bigger wires, and then you have a 3rd wire, which is generally just a copper wire, which is a ground, okay? So whenever you're installing a different light fixture, you have 3 wires. That's because it's meant for a house with 120 or AC power. It will not work on 12, okay? You have to have a light or a fixture that is specific for 12 volt power, and it only has the 2 wires, okay? So that's one of the things that you can do. You can look online. There's lots of different RV chandeliers, sconces. You can use battery powered. I have 2 sconces that are hanging over my island that I built, and they are battery powered, and they're actually meant for like outside, like over a patio or something, and they come with a remote control, and you can just turn them on as you want. So you can get creative with it. Battery power, rechargeable, solar, fairy lights, you name it. Those all are great options. You don't have to go with something that's hardwired in. I will say this, the incandescent bulbs, if you have an older style RV, they're going to have like kind of a dome light with a light bulb in it. It's going to have a little bitty tiny light bulb, right? Those are going to use more amps. They're going to use more power than an LED would, right? So the newer style LEDs, and I don't know if you can see mine, I might tilt mine up, but mine right here, you can like adjust the level of brightness, which is flooding the thing, and it's very low. It's very low profile. It's very small, and it also has, and I can link this in the comments too. But if you touch it, you can go from like a blue light or a bright white. You can go to a warm light, or you can go to a natural light. So there's different options out there for you to like have different fixtures to make it your own, but you're going to have to like be in the parameters that it's specified for, and it's very specific to your RV, right? So another thing on that is whenever you're running off of, if you're boondocking, you don't have any electrical unless you have an inverter or a generator. Those are things that will produce the electricity that you need for plug-in power. So whenever people leave a campground and they go somewhere and just park, you're like, well, none of my outlets work. That's because you no longer have plug-in power, or you're not generating plug-in power, right? So you are always on battery power, no matter what. Every single circuit board, thermostat, light switch, any kind of switch that you click on and it has it turns red that shows you it's on. All of that is 12 volt power, battery power, all of it. So you need the 12 volt to work with the 120, even in that situation. So say, for instance, your air conditioner, you turn the thermostat on, right? And that thermostat sends the signal to the control panel, up in your AC, and it turns the fan on, the motor on, and then your compressor kicks on, right? So the 12 volt side of it uses for the thermostat, for the control board, for the fan, all that stuff is 12 volt. Then when the compressor kicks on, then you're starting to use 120 volts or house power, AC power, right? So you have a lot of things that are in conjunction. Your refrigerator, if you have a conventional refrigerator, you will have gas. You have to have a spark in order to have a boom, right? So kind of the rule of thumb on your appliances is 30, 60, 90. So within 30 seconds of you telling the human, you telling it what you want it to do, AC on, heat on, refrigerator on, whatever, you should hear relays click. Okay, so you go to turn the thermostat on and you'll hear a click. And then you will, within 60 seconds, you'll have a fan going. And within 90 seconds, you should have whatever output. So you'll have an ignition, you'll hear a tick, 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 boom, and then you'll have heat coming out within 90 seconds, or you'll have the compressor kick on your AC, and you'll have AC coming out within 90 seconds. So 30, 60, 90. So just kind of remember that. AC power for air conditioner for your AC and your AC outlets, okay? That's house power, plug-in power, or battery power, 12 volt for everything else in your camper. Every single light, everything is 12 volt, right? Now there's going to be a rare occasion that you might have something like a big fifth wheel or something like that has like maybe some ceiling fans that are 120 powered. But most generally, a normal camper is going to have every single light in there is battery powered. It's going to be 12 volt. So another question that came in, and this is unrelated to power, but another question that came in was RV toilet paper. And so they had, experienced maybe not the cone of shame, but they have experienced some major clogs and they don't know what to do. It's, it's brand new to them. They were going to go get a plunger and like try to plunge it, and all this other stuff. So let me just tell you really quickly about your waste tank system. Okay. So your waste tank system is not designed for any fibrous material. It is not supposed to have any toilet paper in that tank. Okay. Now, but they make RV toilet paper, right? Because people buy it. So they make it because you buy it. Okay. So what you are supposed to do in theory, what I suggest also is you put the toilet paper in a trash can and a little trash can and you just take it out every week. Okay. That's all you have to do. And then the products that I utilize in the toilet are Unique, UNIQUE, and I will put those down also in the comments. That is what I utilize only for my RV. So here's how this works. Now, you guys have probably seen or heard on Facebook or on forums that there's like, you can do like detergent and this and Simple Green and ice down the toilet and all these things that are supposed to help clean it and get your sensors to working back. So I'm going to debunk some of this stuff for you. Sensors are decoration. They only work on the showroom floor and right after you get the RV. And then after that, they very seldom work, right? So you don't really need to rely on your sensors. You need to rely on your hearing. Okay. And you can hear whenever you flush the toilet, either like this big abyss, or you can hear the water level coming up. Okay. And you can hear like how close the water is. Okay. Because it's filling up the tank. So you kind of know. And then after a while, you will get the hang of it being like, I've been in this, like I can go almost 2 months without emptying my black tanks. So I can go a pretty long period of time without emptying my black tanks because I'm just one person and, I'm not here all the time. So, so you just kind of guesstimate what works for you. But there's two types of treatments, I would say. There's the ones that are the deodorizers. They mask a smell. Those are like the little pods that you get, or the little things that you squeegee in and fill up the thing and dump in and all this other stuff. So those are to mask the odor. They really don't do anything to break it down. And any of the homemade remedies that you might see on Facebook or on forums or anything like that, just add a layer of sludge to it. Because if you think about it, if you're putting soap flakes or soapy consistency material in a big vat of water, it's just going to get sudsy and stuff like that. And then if you're adding toilet paper to that mixture, then you have like a great recipe for paper mache. And it will start to coat the entire tank, right? Hence why your sensors probably don't work. So your sensors are just like little wires that hang out. They're like 3 little wires, and or sometimes 2, and they're just wires, and they have like a little cap at the end, and they just hang there. And guess where they're generally placed? By the opening. So every time something comes through there, it's just constantly coating these sensors down, and then they just get shellacked to the side of the tank by the paper mache sculpture that you're putting in there from all the toilet paper, right? This toilet paper does not necessarily dissolve. It breaks apart, but it doesn't dissolve. It just makes a mush. So if you have a mush and you have solids in there and you have liquids in there, and then you have a soap that you put in there, you're going to have an even bigger mush. And so you have a sludge basically of stuff that's trying to come out, right? And I don't know why, but God forbid, they put in like 37, 90 to 90 degree angles in the piping, in the plumbing from your tank to the part that, where you empty your black tank. So you have all those joints. So every time a pipe goes into another pipe, you have like a little lip, and it's very minute. It's very small, but still yet it's enough to just constantly catch things on that lip all the time, right? So you are going to be constantly like hitting those joints every time that you go through them. And it's just going to continue to build a clog and clog and clog and clog until you have like a clogged artery basically in your plumbing. So Unique is what I recommend. It was what was taught to me by several experts, and it is actually a probiotic. So you have 2 different types of bacteria. The bacteria that makes things stink. Okay, so that's the bacteria that's like in stagnant water, or feet or or your toilet, right? Okay, so you have the bad bacteria that is just the festering kind, right? And then you have the good bacteria that actually feeds off of that, and it needs that in order to eat and grow, and then it dissolves it basically. So just like you would for your gut, you use a probiotic to get rid of the bad bacteria and make it balanced, right? So Unique was actually founded, it was actually made for agricultural uses, and then they realized that this had wonderful implications here on septic systems and sewage and that sort of thing. So then they repurposed it for that. So it actually will break down the solids to a liquid. And believe me, it does. Because if you've ever watched anything coming out of your black tank, and I do, so that I can make sure that I can see that it runs clear, it is nothing but liquids. There's nothing else in there. And so it's a white bottle with green writing on it, and it just says digest it. And then there's other ones, and the ones that I use, if you have like a clog or anything like that, is like has purple writing on it, and I think that one's called dissolve it. And so they have different ones, and you can leave them in there, and it's just like 2 ounces to 8 ounces depending on the size of your tank that you're using, and it's highly concentrated. And I think one bottle of it probably lasts me, I don't know, 3-4 months, something like that. And they're not very expensive. I've actually found them in stores at various places like Tractor Supply or Ace or something like that for like $12. Sometimes they're like 24, so it really is beneficial to kind of shop around on that. So that's one of the things I want to say. So the homemade remedies that you guys see online are either to mask the smell and then just add a sludge to the tank that hopefully lets it slide out better, but it actually doesn't do anything for the stuff that's in there. So you want that stuff to be broke down. You want that stuff to be as liquefied as possible. Okay. And one of the things that you can do is, and I'm a big, huge proponent of this, is you can clean your tanks with distilled white vinegar. Okay. And don't use bleach. Bleach is very harmful. Bleach, if you dump bleach out on the ground, it'll kill vegetation, all this other stuff. Of course, vinegar is very acidic too. But you also use it for like a 3-to-1 ratio. So you have like 3 gallons of water in a tank per 1 gallon of vinegar. And so what I do is I wait till my tank is low, and like my freshwater tank. I wait till my freshwater tank is low, so I'm about ready to you can hear your pump starting to gurgle. It's not sucking as much up as it normally is, right? And so then I add a gallon of vinegar to my fresh water tank, and I run it through everything. I run it through each tap. I run it through hot water. I run it through the shower. You flush it down the toilet. You run it through the whole. Now your camper is going to smell like an egg salad, and that's just because it's vinegar, right? And if you can leave that for 72 hours, like if you can stand the smell and you can leave it for 72 hours, it will descale, it will algae, mold, bacteria, you name it. And like for those of you who have a tankless water heater, this descaling solution that they sell you that's very pricey for that is vinegar. So it's the same pH as vinegar, and that's what you use to descale anything. So it's a wonderful thing. It gets rid of hard water, gets rid of the calcium, it does all that. So those are extremely beneficial for you to use in your tanks. And then it really cleans it out. And it's not hard on your fittings or your pipes or anything else. And honestly, it's a really good indicator too, because if you do have some sort of a leak, do you want bleach leaking out all over your floors and staining or ruining floors or carpet or anything like that? Or do you want vinegar that might leak out, but you can smell that? So you can smell that and you can find if there's a leak too. So it's kind of, a bonus on that one. But that's all that I use. Another question that somebody came up with was, making your own homemade remedies. I really strongly suggest not putting anything down into that tank that is not designed to be in that tank. So liquid detergents, flakes, simple green, any of that stuff has a specific intended purpose. And when you start doing that and mixing that, you're just asking for, more problems than you already have. Also, the ice down the toilet that supposedly scrapes the sides and does all this stuff and cleans everything. Well, and I know what it's like to put ice into an already half full glass of water. It just dissolves quick. And so it's not going to stick around unless it's freezing cold outside. It's not going to stick around in your tank. So you're always going to have some residual liquid in your tanks. And if you try to dump ice down there, it's going to dissolve almost instantly. So all you're doing is adding cold water to your tanks. It's not sloshing around. It's not making a dent in there. And it really doesn't do anything for your tanks. And it can actually damage your sensors as it's going into your tank or as you're trying to shove it into your tanks. So I would highly suggest not to do that. And I can link those products into the notes as well. Another question that I saw the other day was about leaving your valves open. And so I really want to touch base on that, because whenever you are at a campground or you might be stationary, and I'm guilty of this as well, that a lot of times you just leave your valve open and just let the gray water come out and no big deal. And a lot of people leave their sewer valve open because it's just going straight down into the sewer, right? You don't even have to mess with the tank. Well, that will cause a lot of problems because in using your RV toilet, there's actually a right way to use the toilet and a wrong way. Who knew, right? So whenever you're using your toilet, for number one, you need just the little bit of water that's in there, and that's it, because it all goes down and then it flushes the whole thing. But if it's number two, you need like that whole bowl or 3/4 of that bowl to be full. So you need to run the water into the bowl because it's a gravity fed system and it will take everything that's now in the toilet and push it out into the black tank by gravity, by force. Okay, so you need a lot more water to utilize for number two than you do for number one. And the same thing is in reverse when it's coming out of the tank. So whenever you're dumping your black tank, you need that water, that pressure of that water to start forcing things out. If you leave your tank valve open, then the water's going to go out and the solids are going to stay. And that's where you get the cone of shame. So you get your very own pyramid of poo and, the toilet paper sculpture of the paper mache. And then that will harden and become solidified and rock hard. And then you have to have somebody come out and sewer jet your tanks. And it's not a fun process, let me tell you. So keep your valves closed. Just dump them every week. Even if you're stationary, keep them closed. Dump them every week. And then you need, it's a good rule of thumb, but you need your gray water to kind of flush out your black tank for the hose. So whenever your black tank, you finally dump the black tank and that is come out and it's running clear, then you can open up your gray tanks and just kind of flush that hose out. Okay. Now I will say this, between the two, gray tank and black tank, which one do you think is the most filthy? You would think it would be the black tank, but it's actually the gray tank. And let me tell you why that is. So since 2020, what do we all use on our hands? We use antibacterial soap. Okay. Antibacterial soap kills bacteria, which is what you need in order to break everything down. So in the gray tank, you not only have food particles, you have hair, you have skin cells, you have shampoo, you have soap, you have spit from toothpaste, you've got a lot other stuff in there other than just waste solids, right? Okay, so you have a lot of stuff in there, and that will make some disgusting stuff. So the unique products that I told you about is not just for your black tank, it is for all tanks. So you can use this on all tanks and add in the good bacteria that you do need to break all of this down. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Ooh, we have lightning here. Okay, I'm putting the unique in the comments so that way you guys have that link there for that product. And I will also put the clog one in there because that one is a very good one. I highly recommend it. They also have one that is for storage that actually puts in more stuff to help you with the stuff festering inside, you know. It's very good. And one of the things that I will say about the pods, that the pods that you get for any kind of a black tank treatment, we all know kind of what those pods look like when we use them in the washing machine, right? When we use them in like public washing machines or laundromats or whatever, or our own, they don't really dissolve all that well, right? And so it takes a lot of agitation to get those pods to dissolve. And so again, you're adding in another slimy foreign object into your tank, and that really shouldn't be there, you know. So another thing that we could probably do is just go straight to liquids and keep away from detergent like pods or any kind of other material or powders or anything like that. That's going to have to take more work for it to dissolve and eat away at that, leaving like remnants of it that's still just slick to the side of your tank. So those are some of the things that I would highly recommend. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. If you guys have any other comments, you can or questions, you can always comment on this one, and I will get to you. This was also brought to you by